Hello, everybody. Happy sunny day. Hello, Britt.
Hey, how are you?
Good, good. I'm doing really well. Excited to dig into this special pod episode today.
They're all special, Chelsea.
They they are.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry, mistake. They're all super special. So this is just a regular episode. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so just as a reminder, we're back at you with more people, more problems. We've got a fresh episode on the roster for today. And then, of course, mentioning that the thoughts and opinions and all the things expressed by Britt and myself are our own. They're not of anyone else's, unless we like plagiarize off someone on the internet, obviously, but not of our former or current employers. So, just a
Most
reminder.
importantly.
Yeah, most importantly, this
Uh,
is just our shit. And also that we won't share anyone else's personal information, just our own. So that's fun
yeah.
for everyone. And also like, share, subscribe. I don't know, put a laughing emoji or let us know in a comment if you'd like to hear any particular topics coming up because we're super happy to take requests.
Yeah, we love that.
We love it. So I'll just toss it over to you, Britt.
Awesome. So today we are going to jump in with the topic of care. I feel like I should be saying some Shakespeare to care, to not care.
That
But
is
overall, I think really what it is, what does it mean to care for your employees? What does it mean to overcare? Maybe you shouldn't care at all. And maybe that's the best business model of all, but we just haven't experimented with it enough. So I think today we're going to get into the nitty grit of it and nitty gritty of it.
Mhm.
And also, I feel like I know you have some stories, and I definitely do too, because I feel like at my time, leading a talent team through a lot of growth, I definitely overcared at times, and I misunderstood what it was. At times, because I think it was a little self-serving, it made me feel good. At other
Mhm.
times, I just didn't know I was naive and immature and unexperienced. And so I think like let's talk about it. Let's be real today, and hopefully we get some good tips on what it means. Um, and so let's just talk about what care is, because I think
Yeah.
let's iron out what that means because there's a lot of definitions. So for me, when I think about what it means to care, I think it means to put the right attention and considerations, and really time into understanding and supporting your people. And so that being within your company, within your team, etc. But it's really that right attention, considerations, and time. Would you agree with that, or would you add to that at all?
No, I completely agree. And adding to it in the sense that you can have really, really tangible ways you can care for people,
Yeah.
and then ones that are maybe less tangible but just equally as important. And when I talk about tangible ways, it's the typical what people think about. It's like the perks, right? The
Yeah.
pay, the perks, the things, do you provide lunches? Do you have a gym pass? Like, do you have rewards programs? Are you getting the proper salary? Are you getting, performance bonuses, things of that nature? And then maybe the less like tangible or materialistic ways you can care is like actually just when it comes down to it, just like giving a shit about people, like
Yeah.
knowing people, taking time to know them personally. Of course, like you'll probably know them professionally, supporting them maybe in their career growth, maybe in other areas where required. So I think that there's a few things, and a lot of people will immediately say, although I think we're kind of turning a tide a little bit in society nowadays, especially post pandemic, where people are still, of course, focused on they need to make enough money and they need to,
Yeah.
those are some of those things in Maslow's hierarchy, like we've talked about before, like you need to have those things. But a lot of people are now in search of employers or leaders that actually give a shit about them because you're going to spend a really like a third of your day essentially doing this job.
If not
So is
more.
there someone who actually cares about me in this 8+ hours of my day? And so I think that that's really important as well.
It's so interesting. I have so many thoughts right off the bat when you say that, because there's an interesting question, which is if you are getting paid to do a job and you are then working there, is that not almost the commerce, like the exchange of goods of you, services, pay, outcome? And is that really caring? Like, and I feel like maybe it isn't, in the sense that then, to me, to your point, caring over top of it is like giving a shit. It's more than just that transaction. It's showing that You bring more to the table than just a job. So if you're a programmer, if you're, an accountant, instead of just looking at the numbers and producing results, it's like I care more than that. And I believe that if I care, we'll get better outputs or better relationships, et cetera, et cetera. But in that case, there is the argument of like, do you really need to care in some jobs or some environments? Maybe it is just that transaction and that's okay as well.
Well, I think the care has that direct correlation to an employee's happiness, which has a direct correlation to an employee's output, impact, productivity. So I really think that that's what allows like happy, healthy, well supported employees. It's what's going to give that organization that oomph. Like, obviously, if I go to work every day, my boss is a jerk, like couldn't care less about me. I'm going through personal problems that are really really difficult. Maybe it's impacting my work a little bit, or maybe they're just assholes to be around and like the environment is just kind of like toxic and stuff. Well, if I'm constantly focused on that, how much my boss is an a-hole to me, or how like people don't give a shit about what's going on in my life, or at least giving me that little bit of extra support where like it could be really needed, then everything of what's going on for me is creeping into my workday and is stressing me out. And it's taking away from that time where I could be productive, where I could be having impact. So I think it's all so correlated. And it just like case in point, you hear people all the time like, that person's a jerk, like I can't go and work for that person, and they'll have a terrible experience possibly, they'll be presumed to be these low performers. They go and change it into a job where they're well supported by a team and management and have like they're not in a toxic environment because it comes from the leaders. Like we
Yeah.
have to be honest, it comes from the leaders and it pervades down into the workforce where they're like a completely different person. So how did that person like what is the
What are the
common
inputs
denominator,
that yeah.
right?
Yeah. No, and I agree with you. I think just to play that out, I think if you're just there for the transaction of work, I think you're going to get a certain output of productivity and everything else. And that might be what you aspire to and you don't want to deal with the caring and so that's enough for you and go have it, but I think you're losing a massive opportunity and exponential outcome of what could be if you have the right care. That being said, I think care can be misinterpreted based on care being an outcome or feeling versus it being like the ingredient to then get to certain outcomes. And what I mean by that is when I first started, I thought care meant that everyone on my team would feel needed, would feel like they were supported with everything they needed, that they could bring everything to me and I would stop what I was doing so that they felt like the most important person, so that then resulted into work. And what I realized is that's actually not up to me. That outcome of that feeling is an actual end result to doing all the right things and caring, which is the right intentions, the right clarity of expectations, the right listening when they have feedback, the right candor, specifically radical candor to give direct feedback with care and personality. I think, or personal care, sorry, that came out weird. But I think that all those things, if you do it right, that is truly caring. And the outcome is a highly engaged person that's like, this company really gives a shit about me and they want me here. But when you reverse it and you try and achieve that by, sometimes that means, well, I'll speak for myself. Sometimes that means I would avoid a hard truth because I was like, that's not going to make them feel good. And they're going to feel like they don't belong here if I tell them that truth. And I thought that meant I was caring and it didn't, but it was because I put the feelings and emotions of the outcome on the individual sorry, on me. And that's, yeah, it's like reversing it. It can't be done that way.
I agree. And I think in that vein, you have to look at the different elements of, can you overcare? Because you can.
I think you
And
can care
also,
wrong.
what'd you say?
I
Care
said, I
wrong?
think you can care wrong. Like,
Yeah.
I think you can overcare and you can baby someone. And I don't think that's going to benefit them long
That's
term.
not healthy. That's not
Right.
healthy for you because it also sets a precedent that you're essentially someone's mother or, family member, and you're
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
You're a supportive, cousin, maybe. I don't know, but you're not anyone's mother. We're all adults at the end of the day. And you also have to look out for, and I've seen a lot of leaders take this on, is like compassion burnout, like
Yeah.
taking on other people's burdens and issues and worries to such an extent that it's impacting you being able to even care for yourself. So like let's not even just talk about like how you're caring for others. In the same respect, how do you care for yourself? And just like they say when you get on a plane, put your mask on
Yeah, it goes
before,
back to the boundaries,
you put
you
it on
know?
the kids or the elderlies. Yeah, because there's no help if you're just like out, like passed out, and you can't then help
Yeah.
anyone. So you do have to set those like they might not be clear all the time, but you do have to have some form of boundaries that allows you to protect yourself as
Yeah.
well. And then in the sense of over caring, I mean, I've seen people who have gotten so far involved in employee personal situations.
With the mask of them caring, like, they're like, "It's okay, I'm doing this, I'm so involved." They're now their counselor because they care as a lead. Is that what
But
you
like,
mean?
who is that benefiting more? Is it benefiting you as the lead or is it benefiting that person? And if you come back and say, I'm getting the most benefit out of doing that, you're doing it for the wrong reasons,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah,
like,
and I think
that's a
everyone's
problem.
different. I don't know if you've done the Enneagram, but it's the type 9 of different like I guess personalities, or it's a framework really that tells you where you orient. And when I did it, I realized I was a type 2. And a type 2 is the helper. Meaning and like you're going to be like this makes so much sense, but the helper generally like thrives on being helpful, supportive, sensing how others are struggling and going in to help solve problems.
Mhm,
And this can be really, really great. But of course, just like any strength, there's the adverse, which is the weakness of it. And when you're not in a good place, you overcare, you almost like people please, you can manipulate situations so that you feel like you're helping, but really you're doing it to get the validation yourself.
mhm,
And so I think what you're talking about there is like I'm prone to that. And so I had to realize over time that naturally, if someone came in my office and said, I'm really struggling, can I talk to you? And all I wanted to do was stop everything I was doing to make them feel better, but ultimately to make me feel better as well. I had to have my own boundaries or settings to say, okay, wait, what's most important of me to be doing right now?
mhm,
Is this going to make or break them? Is like, how critical is this conversation? What's the best thing to care for them, for the organization, for all? Like, it's perspective and it's understanding that, maybe James that came in today has come in 6 times before and it's not actually helping. And so now I need to stop. This is no longer helpful. This is actually hindering your ability to work. So now we have to have a different conversation, a real conversation, how you need to work on yourself and get back to work at the company. And so I think it's really important to realize, like you just said, your intentions, and who is it really serving. I like that
mhm.
because it's so easy to creep into, you think you're helping everyone else, but it's also serving yourself.
So, what are certain ways, in your opinion, that you can demonstrate caring on the job? Like, what do
Yeah.
you think?
Um, One of the ones that I learned over time was radical candor. And so I think that we all kind of know, like, as corny as it sounds, feedback is a gift. But we're like, how do we do it? And a lot of times I think we get masked in the version of feedback is hard and this person isn't going to want to hear it, so it will just be easier to not share it or to like shit sandwich it or
Mhm,
do all these different things. And for me, what I realized through radical candor, and there's a good book we can attach on it too, but radical candor essentially is the notion of challenging directly while showing that you care personally.
mhm,
So what I mean by that is, like, it's not brutal honesty. It's not like, oh, Chelsea, that shirt looks like shit, but like you're still hot. Like, that's just an asshole thing to say. So it's like not what you're saying, it's how you say it. And it's knowing then that, like, maybe you're really interested in improving your public speaking. So, like, in feedback, then if I noticed you were saying like all the time, like every 3 words, like, or it's a
mhm,
hard thing to fix, but it's so minute. But I might say to you, hey, Chels, I know you're really focusing on public speaking, and I think you're doing a really good job. with how you introduce your topics, how you flow to the next one, when you listen and pause for feedback. But one of the things that I think you should improve on is how much you say like. And I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but you say it every few times, every few words. And I
Is
think
this
that if
like a
you
real
can,
conversation we're having
no, no,
right
no,
now?
no, no, no,
Just
it's
checking
not.
if this is, like, for real.
You're like, shit.
Is this
I think
actually
I am
happening?
projecting because I think I say it too much. So do not take any of this.
You're not a liker, you're an ummer.
Yeah, I knew. I know.
I'm a liker for sure.
Okay, I don't but this isn't meant for you. I'm trying to show that there's a way to say it that is direct, so direct that you're like, "Is this actually for me?" But also knows what you're interested in. There's a care of understanding who Chelsea is and relating the feedback to make it actually valuable for them and for us. And so that was something I still work on to this day because I don't like conflict and personally don't, so I gotta, like, prepare for it a lot, but I think the highest caring is actually leaning into the uncomfortable and having real moments.
So authentic, real,
Yeah.
still delivering hard truths, but like you're being sensitive, of course, and your delivery has to be on point and supportive or in a caring nature. You can't just be like, here we go with the likes. Obviously, she's talking about me. Can't just be like, yo, you say like too much and too much ums, and it's like really brutal, and nobody's
Yeah.
gonna want to listen to you saying that. And I think you're doing a really shit job right now. So I think you need to improve. Okay, so we gave the hard truth, but we also did it in a real jerk way,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like so.
yeah, and
So
it just doesn't won't make you feel like you can even improve, so I think radical candor is a huge one for me of be direct, say it in a way that you care personally about the individual. So it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
yes.
I think listening too, like being open to feedback and showing that you're willing to receive it as well is really critical within that umbrella. But I think another one around like care. I used to think care meant like highly customizing everything we did. And I think actually that's not the truth. I think the caveat to that is once again, having enough context and depth in your relationships and with people that you give moments for customization and
Yeah.
adaptability, but not actually like assuming that's the outcome.
Yeah, and you don't have time all
No.
the time to have this really, really personal experience. Rinse, repeat. Like there are a lot of areas where you're giving very, very similar types of feedback. You got to pull a rinse, repeat. Don't, reinvent the wheel and whatnot. So you can care for yourself a little bit and not forcing yourself to have a very, very tailored approach to every particular situation because a lot of them can be grouped and you can actually kind of work through more general type of feedback or structured discussions and whatnot. And a couple that I was going to mention
Yeah,
in
jump
that you
in.
talked about in your radical candor and or maybe more on the listening side is if you're offering to care or support and whatever that is, listen to people when they don't want it, when they don't feel like they
Yeah.
need it or they're not open to it. Okay. And so this might be in a professional problem, it could be in a personal context. And your immediate reaction might be like, do you need my help? Let me get in there and let me do
Not
this
everyone
for
wants the
you and
hero.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you think, well, listen, I've been through a situation like this in the last couple of months, and I can honestly say I did it incorrectly. Not in terms of a business decision I made. The decision was the correct decision. Um, and it had to be made, and someone was going to look for another opportunity. Now, I put my first kind of like obviously the way in the delivery, there was care in the delivery and compassion in the delivery. Now, my probably next element of care was did you want some support putting, helping to look for another opportunity or, a reference letter? That was, oh, yeah, yeah, but like kind of brush off. I proceeded to ask again at another point and possibly even another point. And then I think back at it now, I'm like, shut up, Chelsea. Like, they don't want your help,
Why do you think you were
obviously.
doing that? Did you
I
feel bad about the
yeah.
decision?
Yeah. I I I didn't feel bad about the decision. I stand by the decision. The decision was the right
Yeah.
decision. No issues with that. I felt bad for the person because it's going to be hard on that person obviously and
But obviously they didn't think it was that hard. So like the key piece there is the implied Implied mercy? Like
I don't
implied
know, there's, like, guilt. Like, I think it's hard to not experience some sort of guilt when you know that personally someone's going to be hurt or
but
upset,
how but
justifiably or
yeah.
not.
Yeah, but also you are assuming. You know what they say about assuming.
Assume, yes, I am assuming I'm making an ass of you. I mean, I get it. But I don't know, like, it's still hard for me to come out of that.
Yeah,
So that, like, pings to me of a situation where I attempted to overcare or I attempted to care, it was rebuffed, and then I attempted to
yeah.
overcare, and I was then realizing, "Okay, you need someone's telling you that they don't need it, and if they do need it, they'll let you
They'll come
know.
back.
Stop asking."
Yeah, if people are interested, they will find a way to make it happen. So I think you're right. I think, the right approach is to, if you have the time and ability to offer support on the way out, to say, hey, if you want, I can help you here, which I think is glorious. But
Yep,
I think, when someone says, kind of not interested, or I'll let you know, then you lean back because it's their
clearly
own
don't
boundaries.
want your
Yeah.
help, like, shut up.
It probably was first stage supporting them, and then it probably went towards something that you needed to make yourself feel
My
better.
own validation.
Yeah, which is
Um,
what we all do. We're humans.
I
Like,
mean,
this is the hardest part about being ourselves, right? Our
of
brains are
course.
so powerful. We tell ourselves narratives all the time to make ourselves feel better in moments, and we can get confused around intentions. That's just the
Exactly.
reality.
You know what else comes to mind for me in terms of caring? Um, it's kind of the teaching people to fish. I don't know if you and I joked about this, analogy before, if it was with someone else. Rather than giving someone the fish, teaching them to fish, right? I'm going the old Jesus proverbs
Yeah,
here,
is
you
that
know?
a
Like, I maybe was it you and I that joked about it? You're
No.
like, "I've never heard of this."
No, no,
Um,
no, I've heard of this one, so it
okay,
wasn't me. Maybe it
it's
was
someone else I talked to about it. Maybe they're not religious or anything, and I don't necessarily equate it to religion now at this point. But it's really about teaching people to do rather than just giving them answers
This
all the
reminds
time.
me of, like, a parent with their kids where, like, they have a science project and they're like, "Mom, Dad, I can't do it." And then the parents do it because they wanna get a good job or
Yeah,
get a good grade, but, like, you're really fucking your kid over for the future because 'cause they're not actually learning. So, like, I think the care is, once again, this is another moment of, like, hard truth, right? You can take an easy route that feels good right in that moment that you think is care, but it isn't. It's the zoom out to realize the care is pushing them to learn, to grow.
exactly. I think that, you know,
Yeah, it's interesting.
sometimes we scapegoat a little bit too with things of that nature. Okay, something needs to be done, say rather quickly, right? It's a little bit intricate. You don't have time to teach someone how to do that, or you don't want to take the time to do it because that's going to take way longer, obviously, than just being like, well, I know this. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it right away. And then I'll give it to them, and then that'll be the piece that they need, and then, so on and so forth. Well, that's not benefiting anyone because the next time it happens, you could be in the exact same
Yeah.
situation where it's quick. You don't have time, as a leader, not that your time is more valuable, but your time is spent doing other things during the day, right?
Yeah.
So
And
you
most likely it's not gonna be the same. It's gonna be worse the next time.
different, whatever nuances, you got to get to the basics and you got to go and
Yeah.
demonstrate, okay, if for me it's going to take me 20 minutes, let's take 30. Let's walk through it
Yeah.
together. Let's sit beside each other. Let's work through it. You'll know exactly how this is done next time and any additional nuances if the request is different, we can discuss, but you'll already have the base knowledge in order to do this yourself at the next given period. So for me, that's a big element of caring because you're actually giving a shit about someone's ability to grow and develop in their role and to like accomplish more and to learn more. You're helping them their ability to kind of
Yeah.
adapt and become better, right?
Okay, so hot take that I'm just thinking through as we say this in
Oh,
my head.
hot take.
And hopefully this comes out clear because it's a little mumbled, but I'm going to think out loud here. So, part of me is like, so is care, when we think about how to care, is a good quotient like, are you caring about something with no expectations in return? Because I think that the expectations in return are a signal for why I wanna do something, why, like, "Oh, I think I'm caring about them, but it's gonna validate me, is that I'm gonna be more important in their life. I'm going to get something done faster." And so if you can ask yourself, "Is this caring for them completely, or am I expecting something in return?" So that was my first thought. Then I went, "But wait, hot take, why the fuck do you ever care if it's not for the business?" Like, we're not all of a sudden a group of people brought together just to be friends. We're not there a group of people to become
I was about to
family.
give you an example of how I cared for a girlfriend, for Katie last night,
Yeah,
but
but
then I'm
that's
like, but
different. That's
totally
like friends. Like
valid.
that's yeah, like you in that
Huh.
and there's social cues and psychology behind it, which is why in groups of people you're going to care and it's going to naturally happen. But like let's take that aside for a second. The truth of the matter is, I think this is the dirty truth of any business. You are bringing people together to solve a need, to produce a stronger product, to serve merchants, to whatever it is. And to do that, you need humans. And so we believe that if you actually care about the humans you have, and it's not just this transaction, you're going to get better results. And so you are doing it for a reason. But I think that
But
like
it's
the
not
friend,
for them, it's for the
it's
organization.
for the organization. I think sometimes it could be about them in the context of the organization, but I think like these secondary benefits of
Mm.
friendship or personal, like those need to be farther down the track than what they are. And I think when you optimize for some of those first instead of the company, then the individual and those things, then you get messed up. And if
Mhm.
I think back about moments for me, I can say that's where I probably fucked up the most is when I forget that we're a business and I make a decision for a bunch of people that serves them and makes me feel good, and it isn't like in the context of a business. It's not repeatable, it's not fair, it's not even, it's too customized, and
Right.
then they expect it going forward and then we can't do it. So I think yeah, it was a little messy, but there's something there.
No, there's definitely something there because, like, immediately when you started talking, I was gonna be like, "No, I care for people and I don't expect anything." But I was gonna give you a personal example right
Yeah.
away there. But you're right, in the context of a business, you care for people and you do expect something. Not
Yeah.
personally, you expect impact, you expect output, and it's not for you, although in the end it's like supporting in your own role, it's for the organization, it's the
Yeah.
job, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think,
Yeah, and
and
in
again,
moments I've cared too much, then they don't perform the individual, and then I'm like, "But I care about them, like, I've invested so much time, we've supported them in so many ways, like, I can't fire them now." And it's like, "Oh, because I messed that up, because
mm,
I shouldn't have put that much care or that misguided
yeah,
care in place."
like again, like we talked about, where were the intentions,
Yeah.
and did you over care in that particular situation, and did you put the outcomes too focused on supporting the individual versus the organization at the end of the day. It's really interesting actually. I could probably sit here for like a good 20 minutes and sit with my thoughts and like work it around, and it would probably seem really incoherent until all of a sudden it sounded like exactly what it needs to be, but
I
um
remember when we used to talk about when I used to guide like my team, we had business partners, we had talent ops, we had people analytics, talent acquisition, all the different things. But for my business partners specifically, I used to say to them, our goal is to navigate decisions in the business by connecting humans and business context to empower care and growth and retain high impact people. And the nuance of that is, I think, what we're saying here. It's connecting business context with human context, and a care is a critical ingredient to that,
mhm.
but it needs to be within those two contexts. And if you lose sight of that, I think you can really get into some trouble around over caring or potentially not caring enough and then not getting the intended outcomes.
So is the care like the vehicle, so to speak? Like, between the context? Am I getting a little bit too
I don't know. Let me think on that.
anyways, okay. Um, just, like, to move on, and you
Yeah.
can come back to that little vehicle picture or whatever if you want, if it makes any sense. Everyone's probably like, "What the fuck is she talking about?" Um, the one a couple other things I wanted to just mention on, like, the right ways to care rather than care
Yeah.
wrong. Obviously practice what you preach. I think that that's really important. And then, like we said earlier, setting those emotional boundaries as well. If you don't, you will become burnt out with other people's stuff. I see it all the time. People do have horrible, difficult things going on in their lives, but if you take on every little morsel of that, there's not going to be anything left of you, and you're not going to be able to support anyone even in a very minute way, let alone yourself, obviously.
Yeah.
So people need to be very, very careful of that overcare, and setting your boundaries, and also not respecting other people's boundaries, but we already spoke about that.
Yeah, you know what it is? So I love that, and I just got clarity in my head, or I think I do, of I don't think it's a vehicle.
Is
The
it
way I would almost see it is like a Venn diagram.
okay?
So on this side it'd be business context, on this side it'd be human context, and the overlap of the Venn diagram is where you're supposed to care and empower growth. And if you get too skewed to one or the other, I think that becomes maybe no care,
Yeah.
over care. And so that would be how I'd explain it.
I'm pretty sure there's a theory. I have to look it up because I did some leadership training a couple of years back, and this is really, really ringing for me. And it might be more on personality types. But anyways, I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna
Okay.
look it up
I
after
felt
because
like
I
that was just such a brilliant visual, and you're like, "Yeah, I got it somewhere else." I'm just teasing.
but I've seen it somewhere, but it might not have been like, I mean, we see Venn diagrams all the time.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
might
yeah,
not have
I'm just
necessarily
teasing.
been on care, and I'm just like stealing your thunder for a
No, no, no,
second,
I'm
like
totally teasing,
the
totally teasing.
plagiarizer. But anyways,
I
do we
know
have
we said at
any
the beginning we're not gonna plagiarize, and then here I am.
well, I
Um,
plagiarize people I don't know, like,
yeah, fair, fair, right?
ha do
Anyway, so what do we wanna conclude before we go to wine time?
what do we wanna conclude about caring? Well,
Business Yeah, go ahead.
no, no, you go.
Was gonna just say, picture that Venn diagram. Business context, human context, the overlap of care. Don't sway too far one to the other, because I think you'll skew too high to low context, or low care, sorry, or over care. So try and really find the nuance of that
You
middle ground.
you wanna be somewhere in the middle ground of offering care to your employees, and I do think, like we said, there's that element of care that is going to help you have productive and happy employees. There's those things that you can do on a daily basis that even support people in care. I think for me, just a couple of examples of the way I care for people is I remember things they tell me about their
Yeah.
personal life. I remember their kids' names, or like what they mentioned to me they're going to do on the weekend. And when I check in with them on Monday or whatever, next time I see them, hey, you said you were going rafting on the weekend, like how was that and everything, like people go like, oh, she remembered that. And I remember, it's really funny and it just seems silly, but like when a leader used to engage with me on that level and actually remember like what my kid's name was, or like, an event we were talking about or something, or the amount of employees I had today who said, hey, how was your drive last night to drop off Gary and the kids and everything. And I was like, yeah, I just found it so, like, delightful that
Yeah.
people remembered that and, like, listened and wanted to engage me about that, because those are always the best parts I find of working with people. And it's like when I just chat with employee, or like, when are you going on your trip again? And do you have like all your
Yeah.
stuff settled and everything? And then, so, anyways, I find that those elements of care, and you can do it as a lead, and you can do it just like anyone else, is actually just tuning into people and understanding them and then engaging them on that. I think that shows them that you care. And those are really, really simple things.
I love that. So tangible. I think the only caveat I would say is that is a one to few. You can't do that one to like many, many. And I think that was another lesson I learned, because in growth, when we were a small company and you still knew everyone, you could say, oh, Chelsea, oh, Katie, oh, like, and you could check in.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden you're hundreds and hundreds of employees, and you kind of feel like that's the only way you show care, and you can't do it. And it's a little bit of a
So
mine, but I
you
think
can't,
that's okay. Yeah, you can't, but you can create the environment
but
which does it, which is strong leadership that cares for their people. So
I
it's
think
about the
so.
intimate relationships rather than one to many. I totally agree.
Of course, you're right. If I had 400 people underneath me, there's no chance I'm doing the visits in the office, checking in on everyone's cubicle. I do it now. I have a small team and not all, only
Yeah.
some of them are situated in Ottawa. So it's easier for me to pop by a couple of desks rather than the entire, group of individuals. They're not all there, So,
But it's
but the
lead by example so that others do it, and set expectations of your leaders to care about things outside of just the job.
lead by example, absolutely. You can create that culture of care, so to speak. And I think when I relate a little bit to like what we're experiencing now in terms of like a hybrid workforce, that's hard because we've got, like for example, I work a couple of days in the office and I have persons in Ottawa who work in the office as well. Obviously see them a lot more than I
Yeah.
see other employees who are across the country. um, but I also don't want them to feel left out of being seen or being heard or being cared about in certain ways that I have those opportunities when I pop by someone's office. So typically I'll make sure at least once a week or every 2 weeks, I'll flip a couple of messages to those individuals. Not it doesn't have anything to do about work. It's hey, how's your day going? How are you? Like, how was your weekend? Yeah, I can't do that with 400 people. But if I did have 400 people under me, I can create that culture of care
Yeah.
where people do feel like they're getting some sort of attention and that someone is actually kind of interested in them, and it's not just of hey, did you get that briefing note like is
I
it
think
done?
you're spot on. It's to say it very specifically, it's be curious, show effort. I
Effort.
think those are some of these things that it's really care. How do you give a shit? Well, yeah, you show effort. You
Yeah,
go out of your way
it's
to check in
time.
someone when they're remote. You're curious, you remember. So I think these are great tangible things. I think it's a lot easier than some people really think. And I think just practice it. And when people say like, "Hey, it's too much. I don't want you knowing about my personal life," you listen and you move on, you know? So I think that's that
don't
full circle.
don't pry, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
But
yeah,
I
we
need
all
to know.
yeah, tell me how it was. Like,
Yeah.
okay, fine, that's personal, whatever.
Barrier. Next thing you're in like a lawsuit. But anyways.
Harassed people.
Uh,
Um, no, I think that's good. I think like that's a great note to end on. I think this is a great there's a lot of good items, and I want to do a little bit of research after this, and we'll share some resources possibly that we
yeah.
can add when the podcast gets posted. But yeah, to care or not to care, how much is the question.
There we go. Be
So
back
good.
with wine.
Bye.
Hello, we're back with some wine.
Wine. It's
Cheers.
quite the color though, eh?
I know I poured it and I was like, it kind of looks like a pea. And then I realized it's an orange wine. It's actually really like it's growing on me. I've had a few sips and I'm enjoying, but so it's called SP68 OCCHIPINTO. It's an Italian wine. Can you see that? I think I gotta like, it won't focus. Anyways,
Uh
I'll take a photo of it. From 2018, so it's a vintage. It's from I don't even know where in Italy, but it's Italy. Um, Vittoria. I don't know. It's good. I feel like it's very like it's definitely an orange wine. It's peachy. It's like easy to drink. I feel like I would love this by the pool.
it really aftertastes for me almost like a red,
Oh,
like
maybe that's why I like it.
a light red.
Yeah,
It's got a very and not in a bad way, but it's got that very iodine like aftertaste.
it
You get
does,
that?
doesn't it?
Do you get that?
Yeah, I don't love that much now that you say it. In the description, it says apple, apricot, some orange blossom, honeysuckle, burnt caramel. Do you taste any of these things?
I don't know. Like, what's the taste for iodine?
I I don't think it's
Iodine.
any of those things.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, what would you rank it?
Like, I'm not crazy about it or anything. I don't think I would buy it myself. Like,
It's about a $40 bottle. So like you got to kind of love it in my opinion.
I don't. I
Yeah.
don't love it. Like, yeah, if you're gonna buy it, you
Yeah,
gotta
yeah,
love
yeah.
it. So, I mean, me personally, I would probably give it no more than a 6.
Okay, I would it's funny, like, I get into phases where I'm really into the orange wine, and then it goes up, like, this is a very classic orange wine. Like, I feel like I've had this one out, and with the right food, I've really enjoyed it because the label looks familiar,
I wonder
but
what the pairing would be. Would you pair an orange wine with?
I think light things kinda like a white, maybe I'm wrong. Our viewers, tell us because I actually don't know.
Would this be like, oh, okay, so let's talk about the spectrum. So we've got
'Kay.
reds, which are good for like red meats and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Then we've got whites, which are good for like light fish, chicken. Will we say that an orange wine is for like an in between, like a pork dish?
No, I would think more so with this, more so shellfish, fish, like, light. I feel like it would be odd with, like, a pork. Anywho, I would give it
Someone can tell us, that'd be great.
yeah, I would give it I'd honestly probably give it a 6.5 only because of the price related. If this was, like, 18 bucks, it would go up for me.
Yeah, it wouldn't for me
Okay.
either. It just wouldn't for me.
You're just not an orange wine gal.
Yeah,
It's
it's
great
not.
because 'cause I'm gonna force you to drink this by the pool later
I
with
know
me.
we're well, I'm gonna listen. If someone's giving me wine, I'm gonna drink it regardless. If I'm gonna go to the grocery store, sorry, this is probably not a grocery store bottle. It's clearly a liquor
It's a
store.
vintage, Chelsea. It's a
Oh, it's a
vintage.
vintage.
A
Yeah. So
vintage.
yeah, if someone's gonna feed it to me, I mean, I'll drink it. I
You'll
mean, I've
drink
never been
anything.
known to turn down
No.
anything with an alcohol content, really.
There you
Like so,
go.
like let's just say
Okay,
that.
so how's your summer going?
Yeah, it is summer, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
like
we're in the
kind of
thick of it.
we are in the thick of it. Yeah. It's going well. I mean, I'm trying to make the most of having that nice weather. I mean, it is hot
It's
and
hot.
sticky. Like humid and stuff like that. I was at work earlier and I walked in like, from my car into the office and my hair was like like I got in the elevator, looked at it, I was like, "Really? Holy smokes, that humidity is really getting to us." Um yeah, trying to do as many good fun things as possible, like pooling, seizing the moment when opportunities arise, being more yes, and this is going to be fun, and we're going to do this, and I can sleep later, and things like that. So
Enjoy it.
overall, like really good, right?
Yeah, I feel like it's been great. I feel like we're really like in the summer now. You know, the first few
Mm,
weeks of June, it was like exciting, but like we didn't know what to do. And now I just feel like we've eased into it. There's more pool days, like you said,
yeah.
you're going up to the cottage, golfing, everyone's just relaxed in the summer. You know, like you're like, oh, you coming in? Oh, maybe later. Like, I don't know. There's just a relaxed effort to it.
Yeah, there is a more relaxed effort to it. A lot more social gatherings, which is great, but then like exhausting, like the big ones are
Yeah.
exhausting. But like I like the kind of impromptu social gatherings where it's like, especially like your friends who have pools, like friends out there, family with pools, like if you just randomly message your girlfriend or whomever and you're like, yo, do you want to come for a swim and have a glass of wine by the pool? I'm like, hells yeah, I do.
Yeah. I know.
That is always welcome. It's always welcome from whatever you're doing. You're like, I'll be there. Like,
Yeah.
do you even have to ask?
Yeah, you're good for that.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
love that.
hell's yeah.
I'm one of those people with a pool that invites her only when she's being good.
Not when
Just
she's
kidding.
not when she's not. Like, that's really interesting.
No, you always get invited. Okay, so I have to do a disclaimer. So if anyone's watching this video and you're like, why the fuck is Brittany's eyebrows so dark?
You
Um,
can actually you can't really even tell on camera.
I
And I
feel
think
like I
they look
look like Bert and
bomb.
Ernie. Like I
No,
look in my reflection and they are dark.
on video, like where how I'm seeing it, I think they look great. Yeah, they could lighten up, but like also the dark brows are in.
Yeah, but
So
I have
like
blonde hair. Anyways, I got my eyebrows microbladed. They will lighten up. For anyone that doesn't know what that is, essentially they tattoo your eyebrows a little bit. And I started doing it 8 years ago, and now I'm committed. You can't really get out of it. And so we're doing it. And so they're fresh. So they're extra dark for the next bit, and then they start to lighten. So
yeah,
they'll be
how
great
long? How long do they stay, like, quite dark? Like
for like a week.
okay.
Yeah, we
I
could
honestly think they look great. So I mean, I don't even like I forgot about them the whole time we were recording. I mean, I wasn't staring at your eyebrows. Like I think they're framing your face lovely.
she did a wonderful job. They're
I think
shaped so
there's
well
I
and
think
done
they're
well.
beautiful.
They're just, like, 3 shades darker than what they need to be. So don't you think, like, I just think of, like, is it Bert or Ernie? I guess it's Ernie that just has, like, the cat, like, I just feel like my face is so light, then it's,
I
like,
don't
dark.
I don't think that at all. I think they
Okay.
look fantastic.
Well,
So
thank
like
you.
they lighten up. You're more
Yeah, I just
comfortable
need a
with them.
spray tan to go with it because I can't get them in the sun, so I gotta wear a hat later.
Like for a certain period of time or
Yeah,
for
I
like
think, like, 2
forever.
weeks. I don't no, like, I think
I
it's, like, a
can't get
week.
my brows. I guess because it's like kind of exposed skin, right?
Yeah,
Because it's like
yeah,
micro needling, like it's like
yeah.
needling, right?
And then
Like
you
a
just wear,
tattoo.
like, sunscreen on them because it's like a
Oh
tattoo,
my
but
word.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anywho,
You have to really be committed to your brow
yeah,
to go
you
through this
do.
process,
And
obviously.
I obviously was 8 years ago, and then I was less so, and the problem is they fade and they just look like shit in the in between if you don't keep
Mm,
doing them. So
yeah.
then I was like, "I'm gonna do it," and I didn't think through that it's, like, the middle of summer. Like, if I thought about it again, I probably would have done it in, like, September
Yeah.
when you're inside. Like, I have we're recording this, we might record another one. I have, a celebration of life tomorrow that I'm going to. I have all these things, and I just got these intense brows going with me.
I love the intense brows.
Girls
Like
gotta
I
live.
you don't need to disclaim on anything. Well, anyways, like cheers to the summer, really. Like
Yep.
uh, and I'm doing the like again now. This is
I do
really
now because I said that feedback, I can't stop thinking about it myself. I shouldn't have done
really
that.
affecting me now because I say it a lot. And you know what I say too much? Super.
Do
Like
you?
that's super awesome.
You
Like
know
I
what we
don't
gotta bring back, is some of that slang we said last week.
Riz.
Riz. Yeah, what does that mean again?
I can't remember. Cool or was it
Yeah.
not cool?
What was the one like Delulu, which is, like, delusional?
Delulu.
I was listening to this podcast
I
and
could do
someone
that one.
said it, like, just in their sentence, and I was like, "They really all are saying it." Like, I gotta freshen up.
So did you know when I listened to this on my way home from dropping Gary and the kids off at the airport last night in Montreal? So I had a good long,
Oh, I
drive.
didn't know you drove to Montreal. I thought it was just Ottawa's airport.
No, that's why
Oh my
everyone was
gosh.
messaging me going like,
And I didn't even message you because I just thought you were
"Yeah,
making a big deal about driving
bitch."
downtown.
Yeah, bitch. I was just driving them to Montreal and everyone was so concerned. My mom's like, "Are you okay?
Did you get back?
Do you
Then your
want to
best
come?"
friend over here is like I would have been like, "Do you want someone to drive with
They
you?"
everyone wanted to, like, come with me. I'm like, I'm not an idiot. Of course, I could drive back from Montreal. It's not that far. Like, once you get out of Montreal, it's like smooth sailing. Literally put the truck on cruise control. It was glorious. I didn't even touch the gas, like, pretty
Yeah,
well the
put on a
whole time.
podcast, you're good to
Cruise
go.
control is amazing. But, yeah, I was listening to, Call Her Daddy last night, and I think it was the June 13th episode with Stassi Schroeder
Oh,
from
yeah,
Men
yeah,
Are From
yeah.
Just so good. Like, it was so fun anyways. I heard a lot of good words that I haven't like, I didn't know about, so clearly I'm still not
We're just not cool.
yeah, I'm still a bit older than them folk,
Don't
anyways,
you
and that's
feel
fine.
like we're so young though? Like this is what it means to get older. You are getting older and young people think you're old, but like at heart, I feel like I'm just as cool slash more cool than I was in my 20s.
I definitely think I'm more cool than I was in my 20s. I think the problem is that everyone else thinks we're older or the younger people think we're older, and do we just come off as idiots who think we're really cool and,
I
like,
know.
acting immature, but, like, not young enough to actually validate the like,
Yeah, like if I go and say
to
like, "Oh,
deserve it?
Chels, like you're so delulu," you'd be like, "Stop trying so hard, Britt." Like,
Well, no, I'd probably get on the bandwagon, but if anyone else was like 5 to 8 years younger than us, no, 5 to 10 years younger than us,
I can do 5.
they'd be like, "You can't say that. Like, you're too old and you don't deserve to be able to talk like that. You're just a loser." And I'm like,
I think
"Oh."
that's the meanest thing you've ever said to yourself and to me because we're included in that. I don't think we can't say things. I just think we have to understand the meaning of it, you know?
Well, like, sometimes I say things and then Chloe thinks
Yeah, but
she's like,
that's
"As
not
if you
10
just
years.
said
That's
that."
your like isn't she 8?
Well, why can she say like, "Oh, you slayed it," like,
Okay, you getting competitive with your
and
daughter?
then the kids are, like, doing something outside in the pool, whatever, they throw a ball and then they're like, "He yeeted it. Just
What?
yeet it." Apparently have you never heard that? Like, throwing something or, like, whipping something or whatever is referred to as yeet.
Yeet. No,
Ye
like,
so,
I
like,
just and then some things I hear and I'm like, "I could give 2 shits." Like, that just doesn't make
I
sense.
don't know where that came from, probably some sort of music video or
Yeah.
something, but, like, he'll be like, "Oh, Carter yeeted it across the room." I'm
We
like,
should
"Can you
get
say
Chloe
throw?"
and Sid to give us, like, legit lessons on cool things.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, I mean, it's true, but they won't allow us to use the cool things to have they
Well, I
can't
mean,
they
Cool
won't let us
ATV
have
might
the
be
cool
allowed.
things. I'm not allowed to have the cool things.
Oh, jeez. So sad. I'm just not allowed. Competition with the daughter. And on that note, we'll come back to you next week with more fun terms because that's hilarious. But
Here's to that.
cheers to the orange wine. I think this is pretty cool.
Well, it's kinda going down smooth now,
It
so
grows on you, doesn't it?
it's growing on me a little bit.
Mhm.
Cheers to that.
Cheers. Have a good one, folks. Bye.